Breaking news. Your dog hates you, apparently. I guess. So we've all seen those articles, right? Scrolling through Instagram or Twitter. You see the headlines, the big sweeping claims, little brothers exhibit these 6 traits. If you're an introvert, you are more likely to have this certain mental illness. And I'm here to tell you right now that you're probably being lied to, in all honesty. So why does this matter? Why are misleading psychological articles so damaging to our society? Well, there's many reasons. Psychology is seen as an immutable science, so certain claims and findings might give people false impressions about the world, which could lead to a variety of cascading negative effects. So the question is, how can you identify these misleading psychological articles? Well, the answer is there are 12 main things to look out for in these texts. Things that, although do not discount the study entirely, might raise some red flags. The first thing to look out for is sensationalized headlines. For many articles, their primary goal is to get you to click on them, resulting in headlines that either exaggerate or entirely misrepresent the information in the study. An example would be a study examining the effects of running in the morning on mental health. And then the article headline says something like, "Not doing this in the morning is making you depressed." It's an entirely misrepresented take on what the study is actually saying. The second thing to look out for are misinterpreted results. Psychological articles want something provocative to write about. When looking into or reading a psychological article, try to look at the original study and see if the claims made in the article are the same as the studies. Number 3 are conflicts of interest. Sometimes scientists are employed by individuals or companies. It's important to look at the interests of those employers and see how it might affect the study. For example, let's say a new company comes out with a new line of futuristic robot dogs. This company then employs a team of scientists who find that the dogs have insanely good psychological effects on people who own this mechanical dog. Now, it doesn't invalidate the study completely, but it's really important to keep in mind as a potential red flag. The fourth thing to keep in mind is correlation and causation. Just because two things are correlated doesn't necessarily mean that they're caused by one another. For example, let's say a study finds that people who own dogs have better cardiovascular health. Well, it might not be that dogs themselves cause better cardiovascular health, but that people that own dogs are more likely to be wealthy, active, and take on healthy habits. This is correlation, not causation. The fifth point to keep in mind are unsupported conclusions. There is a high bar for proving something in a psychological study. When articles use words like may, could, it's likely that these claims are unsupported by the original study. Number 6 is problems with sample size. Sample size is the amount of people that were studied in a psychological study. In these cases, larger is always better. If the article has a small sample size listed, then more doubt can be cast on the conclusions of the study. What's true for a small amount of people may not be true for others. The seventh thing to look out for are underrepresented samples. When looking at a psychological study, ask yourself this: who was studied? And can these results be extrapolated out and applicable to you? I'll give an example. Let's say that a study finds that personality type A is correlated with something else, random, right? But the study group is only college students. Now, we cannot with full certainty say that these conclusions apply to you if you're not a college student. The bottom line is the more diverse the sample, the better. Number 8 is when no control groups are used. A control group is a group in the study that is not given the testing condition. For example, let's say we study the psychological effects of caffeine on mental health levels. We need a group in the study that aren't given caffeine, maybe a placebo instead, so that we can compare their results to the group that actually got caffeine. If there's no control group, then that's a huge red flag. How do you know what the study says if you don't have a control group? Number 9 is no blind testing used. If the participant of the study knows that they are in the control group or the tested group, then that might skew some results. Additionally, the tester knowing what group the individual is in might also introduce some bias. Having blind testing isn't always feasible in every psychological study, but it does lend major validity to their claims. Number 10 is when selective reporting is used. Selective reporting is when the researchers have a conclusion that they want to reach. So they use data that supports that conclusion and discard data that doesn't. Let's say researchers are looking into a miracle drug that improves all psychological conditions. Wow! But researchers only use data from people who have actually seen this tremendous improvement, while ignoring the data from others who might not have. Well then, the result of the study should not be trusted. Number 11 is actually a pretty prevalent problem in psychology, and that is unreplicable results. Ideally, if you replicate the procedures of a study, you should get similar results as the first study. If that's not the case, then the first result might have been a fluke, or perhaps there was some other variable that was not accounted for. For example, let's say there's a miracle drug that wipes out depression in one study, but then all of the other studies after that cannot replicate this result. Then we cannot claim that this drug has been scientifically proven to work. The last thing to look out for are non-peer-reviewed materials. A major part of the scientific process are other scientists appraising and critiquing the study before publication. If the research has not gone through this, then the research may be flawed. And there we go. Those are the 12 things to look out for when reviewing a psychological article. But in conclusion, I think that the biggest advice I can give you is just to use your brains. Look for intent, who did the research, conflicts of interest. Sometimes research cannot abide by all 12 of the points that I have stated here, but that doesn't mean that the results of that study are inherently incorrect. Maybe problems with sample size were unavoidable. Maybe blind testing would have made the study immoral. There are major red flags such as selective reporting, but in the end, critical thinking will be your greatest tool against misinformation. I've been Psych for Psych. Stay smart, stay informed, and thanks for watching.